Mike Owens here, joined today by the prospect, Nathaniel Wood, who returns to action UFC 304. Nathaniel, always a pleasure, my man. How are things with you today?
Everything's well my end, mate. Thank you. So good to be back here and good to be on that fight week feeding, A few more days and then it's week out. So yeah, I can't wait to get back in there.
Is it a welcome change moving away from London? I think you're 3-0 in the UK, but they've all took place in your home city. So is it nice to go a couple hundred miles up the road?
Yeah, so for me it's England. Do you know what I mean? I represent England, so no matter where we are in the country, I'm good. Don't know about the time, fighting in your hometown, usually the privilege is that you get to fight at a decent time. So it's a little bit annoying that I've kind of got to fight at stupid o'clock, but I'll be fine, mate. If my missus woke me up tonight at 2 a.m. and said there's someone outside that wants to fight you, I'd have to do it. So, yeah, once that adrenaline rush kicks in, I'll be good as gold.
Have you had to put any measures in place though in terms of fight camp, in terms of when you're training to adjust for the what's going to be a late night?
No, mate, if I'm honest, as I say, like I don't ever see it being an issue for me. Once that adrenaline kicks in, I've got my music on, I've got my coaches warming me up. I think it'll be fine. However, not next week, I think from Thursday, I'm going to start to do I'm going to do a couple of like midnight sessions
Mm.
and just see how I feel. And if I go on, let's say Friday night, do a midnight session and think, "Oh, that was hard," then what I'll do is for the rest of the week, I'll try and acclimatize the same way I would do if I'd flown out to the States or
Mm.
wherever. I do honestly think, mate, that it's not going to be an issue for me. If someone said to me, right, you're going on holiday tonight, you got to set your alarm for 3 a.m. and go to the airport. By the time I get to the airport, I'm buzzing. I'm not
Mm.
worried about sleep. Do you know what I mean? So,
Mm.
yeah, I really can't see it affecting me. But just to make sure that I've done a couple little measures, I am going to do a little bit. I'd like to think I'm not going to be on at 5 a.m. like Tom Aspinall will
Mm.
be. I'm expecting maybe about 2 a.m. So yeah, if once I get my fight week schedule, I'm hoping to see no later than two, and I should be all right, I think.
We'll get back to the video in just a second, but I got to tell you about the Open Championship coming up and how we've partnered up with DraftKings to bring you guys an incredible offer. I know what you guys are thinking. What does fighting and golf have to do with each other? A lot. Golf is not a team sport, neither is fighting. It's every man for himself, last man left standing, and normally the guy who takes the least amount of damage is the one who wins. So right now, new DraftKings customers who go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on the Open Championship, get $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code INSIDEFIGHTING.
Some of the fighters based in the UK have said to me that it's an advantage for the American fighters coming over because they can stay on the same time zones, if you will. And then some of the Americans, the likes of one of the American-based fighters, Giga Chikadze, was like, "Well, I've got to travel over, so it's one and the same." Do you see it as an advantage for the UK fighters, the US fighters, or something in between?
No, if I'm honest, mate, I see it as more of a bit of a fuck around for the US fighters because they've got to come over here and then almost stay on their home time, but it's
Mm.
not home time. So, for example, you've got to have your daytime and your sunlight and
Yeah.
whatnot. So for me, I feel like if anything, theirs is going to be more of a confusion. Now,
Mm.
don't get me wrong, if they can come over and stay on their time, you'd like to think that, okay, they will have the advantage, but I don't know what the UFC are going to do, but they've still got to do media obligations and
Mm.
things like that, which I'm assuming will be at UK time. So, yeah, I don't really know. I think especially with my opponent Daniel Pineda, he's been around the block. I can't see him being a guy that's like, oh, I've missed out on some sleep. I'm gonna, not perform as well. I think everyone's gonna be in the same boat. I think for everyone it's gonna be a little bit weird. Um, but yeah, it is an interesting one. It really is. But I know what everyone's gonna do. Everyone's gonna say, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. But after the fight, we might hear people say, "Oh man, that sucked." Flying from America to UK time, but
Yeah.
then staying on American time. Yeah, it's going to be an experience, that's for sure.
Let's chat in 2 weeks' time when you'll tell me how nice of a week it was, eh?
That's the plan. That's
That's the
it.
one.
But the good thing is, I get an extra 12 hours to make weight than
Of
it would have
course.
been. You know what I mean? So my
Yeah.
weigh-ins are going to be later now on the Friday, whereas if it was normal UK time, they would have been on a early Friday.
Mm.
So yeah, one perk, I guess.
One perk. Talking about your opponent, Daniel Pineda, what do you make of him?
Mate, I've got nothing but respect for him. He's been around the block. You know, he's been in the UFC for, mate, I think he fought in UFC 136 against Mike Brown. So, you know, I'm not going to put disrespect on someone's name that's been in the game for that long. Obviously, I see it as, you know, he's on his way out now. I think he's 38. So, you know, that's quite an old age, obviously, for MMA. I'd like to think I'm going into my prime. So I obviously see that as an advantage. But, you know, I'm not looking past him. I think he's as dangerous as they come. You know, he likes to throw some wild, heavy shots. And yeah, it makes for a great fight. You know, he has been popped for steroids a few times, so I would like to think that the USADA are testing him because, you know, coming to the end of his career, you know, if anyone was going to use him, it's now, and I don't like the idea of someone cheating, if you like, against me. But you know, if he is using him and he gets away with it, then so be it. And hopefully he's not, and we can have a clean fight and put a show on for the crowd.
I remember when we spoke before your featherweight debut against, or when you moved back up to featherweight against Charles Rocher. And I remember the narrative that you kept saying to me was, my speed's just going to be too much for these guys. It's speed and it's technique. And I feel like if any fight of your featherweight run could emphasize that, it's this fight. How important do you think your speed will be to getting over the line against Pineda next Saturday?
Yeah, so I think the speed is the main attribute. You know, going up a weight. Obviously, I think I'm very strong for my weight, but you know, going up a weight, you're always going to potentially be the weaker guy in terms of raw strength. You know, maybe not as powerful, although I don't really think power comes down to weight. I just think it comes down to the speed and using the strength with the speed at the same time. We've got guys in the gym that hit like absolute trucks and they're flyweights. We've got guys that are 80 plus kilos and they, you know, can just about punch through a wet paper bag. So I don't think that is all down to the weight, but obviously he's going to have a size advantage. But what comes with that is a speed disadvantage for him. So yeah, you know, I think my cardio is going to be way too much for him. I'm one of these people that's got naturally gifted cardio as well as the hard work that I put in. And every fight I think I've ever seen him have, he's pretty much gassed. So, you know, if there was ever a fight where someone needs a gas tank, he needs it for this fight. Believe me, with me. You know, people have seen my fight with Casey Kenny. You know, I don't stop. You know, I put the same pressure on for the whole fight. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Stylistically, it's a great matchup for me, mate. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not looking past him at all. He's a dangerous opponent, and I've trained for this fight like it was training for Ilia Topuria. So, yeah, you know, I've got a lot of motivation behind me now as well. And yeah, I think I'm going to put him out this one.
I can remember the lingering doubt around the UK MMA community when you announced you were moving up to featherweight, and yet you go on this fantastic run. I know that the last one didn't go your way, but still super competitive. How do you feel vindicated by them by moving up a weight class and almost proving some of those doubters wrong, if you will?
Do you know what I think it is for me? Is now that I've moved up a weight, what I like to be is that guy representing that you don't have to cut weight. You know, I feel like there's a lot of kids out there that barely know how to fight and they're already worrying about cutting weight. And that seems to be the biggest thing on their mind.
Yeah.
And I want to try and rein it in a bit and be like, guys, look, stop killing yourself to make weight when you don't even know how to fight properly. So, you know, I'd like to think that me being in the highest promotion that there is in the game, proving to people that, look, you can go up a weight, be the smaller guy and still do well. That for me is kind of like yeah, you know, I'm waving the flag for that one. So I like to think that I've been proving that, and even my last fight, you know, size didn't lose me that fight at all. So, yeah, you know, I'd like to think that potentially people seeing me move up a weight might save some lives because, you know, cutting weight is probably the worst thing about the sport. It's probably the most dangerous, in my opinion. And I'd like to think that me doing that may change some people's perspectives, but I can tell you now, I'm a happier man, moving up a weight class. And, you know, I think it was the best decision that I've done. I think I should have done it a long time ago.
What do you think will win next Saturday does for you in the division. I mean, I feel like if these rankings carried on past 15, maybe to 16 to 20 range, you're probably somewhere around about there, just lingering outside the official rankings. Do you think a win next Saturday night unlocks that top 15 fight for you?
Do you know what, mate? I really don't know. I think a good win,
Mm,
a knockout win, something
mm,
like that, then potentially. I do think, obviously, when moving up to featherweight, I was on a bit of a tear, 3-0,
mm,
against decent level caliber opponents, and then that loss was just,
mm,
that just brought me back a bit. So, I know the UFC are going to be like, look, if you want to fight ranked opponents, you need to win your fights. Of course, I'm coming off a loss, I get it.
mm,
So I'd like to think that a good win over Pineda will put me in line for, a little bit of a, hey, I get to call the shots a little bit, maybe, call some
mm,
names. But if not, mate, at the end of the day, I'm still getting paid the same amount. I just
mm,
believe in my skill set, and I believe that I'm one of the best fighters in the world. So I'd like to prove that, obviously, going up against the highest level in the world. But at the end of the day, I'm not the matchmaker.
mm.
So, I just do as I'm told. The UFC give me a name, I'll take it.
Now you've kind of settled at 145. How important is getting the finishes? Now I'm conscious these guys that you're fighting a little bit bigger, maybe it takes a little bit more to put them out. But if you, as you kind of alluded to there, if you want to get into those top 15, you kind of, I suppose, need to impress as much as you can. So how important is, aiming for those? I'm not saying you're not aiming for those stoppages, but getting over the line and getting those finishes at this high weight
Yeah,
class.
getting the finishes obviously is very important. One,
Mm,
for building your name. Your knockouts, your submissions. That's obviously what's going to get you more known,
mm,
and that's what's going to get you bumped up. If the UFC see a split decision win, they're not going to be as eager to boost you up if you
mm,
get a first round knockout. Even let's call it a lucky 10-second knockout. If I went in there and just threw an overhand right and landed it and knocked him out in 10 seconds, they would boost the hell out of
mm,
you, but that could just be pure luck. Look at Masvidal and Ben Askren.
mm.
Come on, there's got to be a certain level of, if he hadn't have landed that knee, where would he have gone?
Yeah.
Where would the fight have been? But that is the nature of the beast. That is the perks and the blessing and the curse in the
Mm,
sport. So, I need to go out there, knock him out, finish him, submit him, TKO him, whatever it be, for the UFC to go, right, okay, this kid's got something here, or the crowd and the social media's following to go up
mm,
and be more talked about, etc. So, but yeah, I do always look for the finish. The
mm.
only fight where I reined it in a little bit was the Charles Rosa one. I didn't want to rush nothing. I did play it a bit safe with him. So yeah, other than that, I'm always looking for that finish.
How much can kind of like one punch knockout power be developed in your opinion? Is it something that you're born with or you're not, or is it something that over the years, over the training camps that you can kind of improve upon?
So definitely some people just have that natural ability to hit hard.
Mm,
Obviously you can train it,
mm,
repetition is key. So, a lot of people, strength conditioning will help, obviously generating power. I'm a big advocate for pushing strength conditioning,
mm,
but obviously repetition in the movement is what's going to, I think, generate more power.
yeah,
So, you can do as many weight exercises as you like, but if you're not actually throwing the shots, you're not going to be generating power in that movement. So I just think repetition. I think things like bag work, pad work are very, very good. Yeah, just keep on hitting and use that power. Obviously good technique as well. But
mm,
sometimes you see people, they have the best technique in the world and they still don't have that power that other fighters may
yeah,
have. So yeah, and obviously if people are taking illegal substances, so find making sure that you're doing the job properly is obviously what you need to do. So yeah, I hear about people that they're on the illegal stuff and people are saying they're hitting like absolute trucks, but
mm,
that's why it's dangerous if people are taking it. So that's why I hope Pineda's not, because
yeah,
two of his best performances I saw and I thought, wow, he looked really good on PFL, and then I saw that they'd got revoked because he
yeah.
was on whatever he was taking, making him like the Hulk. So yeah, but I can't say that I've felt power of someone taking whatever substances there is
Mm.
to take.
Well, let's hope not, 100%, mate. Have to get your thoughts while you're on about what feels like the next title fight in your division. Because Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway might be the fight I need to see most in the UFC right now, to be quite honest with you, Nathaniel. It's just a fantastic matchup. So I have to get your thoughts and your breakdown. Who do you think, if that fight is made
Is
next?
is Oh, I was about to say, has it been confirmed? It hasn't,
Hasn't
has
been
it?
confirmed, but I think it's
No.
heavily rumored, and I think everybody wants to see it. So I think fans will push it over the line if the UFC don't want to.
Yeah, I think that is the fight to make. Who do I see winning? See, I see Ilia Topuria as one of the pound for pound best at the moment.
Mm.
I think he's better than Max, but I feel like Max could cause him problems with his style. And Max is obviously as tough as they come. So I do think out of that top 10, if anyone was to beat Topuria, I'd put it on Max Holloway.
Mm. Out of interest, because you mentioned the pound for pound list, and it does feel like a debate now. We've got Alex Pereira, got Jon Jones, Islam Makhachev. Seem to be the three front runners. Leon is maybe as an outside bet. Who's your number one pound for pound right now?
You got to be Jon Jones. Do you know what I mean? I don't see how anyone can ever go against him. Obviously, if you're going off the CV. Now, Ilia Topuria, I think pound for pound one of the best, just the way he moves. I think if you look at him on the CV, okay, what he's obviously just become the champ. Okay, how can you say he's the pound for pound? But you just know when someone's special.
Mm.
And that, me personally, I think he is. You know, I've said before, I think he would be the hardest fight for me in the division when he wasn't even ranked, I think, in the top 10.
Mm.
Because you can just see when someone's got that something. Um, Obviously, Alex Pereira, you know, he's that knockout machine. Do you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
you know, skill set wise, I think Topuria is a better fighter, better athlete, all rounded. But again, you know, the UFC obviously like to see knockouts. They like to see people finishing fights, and Pereira is definitely that guy for that. So, but yeah, Jon Jones, man. You know, you can't not say it's him.
Yeah, I love it. Well, last one from me, mate, and as always, I really appreciate your time. Um, I would like to know, in a perfect world, as you visualize it, give me a walkthrough of the perfect fight day next Saturday. So I'd like to know, in Nathaniel Wood's perfect world, what happens when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night.
So I wake up in the morning, I get up, my weight's perfect. You know, I put on a nice little bit of weight. I have a bit of breakfast, FaceTime my wife and daughter, and get a little a good luck message from them. And then I'm gonna probably nap more and just write music in my head, get ready for war. You know, I like to listen to things like Viking music, and you know, if you've seen the film Last of the Mohicans, you know, I like to get a bit emotional and deep with it. So I'm going to be doing that, napping, and then, mate, I am going to wake up an angry little man. You know, I'm going to let some emotions out on this guy, and yeah, hopefully it won't be too early in the morning at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. But I'm going to go in there and I'm going to look to hurt him. So yeah, and then after that, I'm going straight back to bed, and then I'm going home to my family, count my money.
I love it, mate. I love it, mate. Well, always good to see you back. It's been too long without
Yeah,
a Nathaniel Wood fight week. So great to see you back. Great to see you in good spirits, and wish you the best of luck for next Saturday.
thank you, mate. Thank you for having me as always, man. I appreciate it.